It is October and it is Filipino American month in the United States.
I can't see, I'm blind.
Not in America, I'm here in the Philippines. Life is here in the Philippines. And I'd never actually heard of this holiday before, or this month of celebration of being a Filipino American. I gotta admit, I kind of had mixed feelings about it when I found out about this the other day. I rarely go onto social networks, but I was on Twitter and our president was announcing that he was celebrating Filipino American month, which apparently was a holiday or a month-long celebration that was passed by the legislature in 2009. So it's so recent, of course, I'd never heard of it, even though I'm pretty well embedded with the Filipino American community in the United States. And the reason that they picked the October date was because way back in 1587, which is unbelievable, the first Filipinos landed on a Spanish galleon that was a trader in California, and thus the month of October. It's very surprising to me because I wasn't even aware that California had been explored by Westerners, let alone Asians, that early. But apparently the first European explorers, the Spanish, had discovered it back in the 1540s. So very, very interesting that a holiday or a month-long celebration existed that I had never even heard of in my country. And I kind of have, when I first heard about it, I was kind of like, you know, mixed feelings about this, because I'm like, now, I'm married to a Filipina. My children have both Filipino citizenship and American citizenship. So I don't have anything against Filipinos, obviously, but I'm kind of like, why do we need a month-long celebration in our country for one ethnic group? I mean, it just seems sort of silly to me for an entire month to be set aside for something like that. I'm certainly, my ancestors on my father's side are all from Scotland, and my mother's were from Northumberland in England, and we certainly don't have a English or a Scottish month that I'm aware of in the United States, and nor do I feel that we do need one. I probably have more in common with the Filipino Americans than I do with anyone in Scotland culturally, or with England at this time. So I was kind of like, why do we even need this holiday? And the Filipinos that I know in the United States, they really assimilate probably better than just about any culture that we have in the United States. By the second generation of living in the United States, the kids that were born there, my experience has been very few of them have much of the mother tongue even. I don't know about celebrating culturally and stuff. They certainly would have the cuisine from their parents, or at least one of their parents maybe. But I don't see it as that they're any way out of touch with the traditions back in the Philippines. I think they're taught that by their parents, even though they do assimilate so well. And somebody is selling something. So whenever you're in the Philippines, this is kind of an off topic. Somebody will go by and they'll have these loudspeakers going on that basically is trying to sell you a dessert or balut. And it happens at all hours of the day. This is actually, although this here over here is a public park, you can see I've got a little friend following me around. Over here, all of this is residential. So at any time I've ever come to this park or any other one that's near residential neighborhoods, they're like all over the place, going around blowing those loudspeakers over and over again, trying to sell their wares. If you live in a gated community, you don't have to deal with that. But, you know, that's the Philippines. Although when I was back in the United States, although I lived in a very nice neighborhood, we did have ice cream trucks that would come through and play their music. And occasionally they would get on the speaker to say that they were selling those.
New face, same old good anxiety. Where's your...
So overall, I have absolutely no problem, I guess, with the holiday now that I think about it. I'm not sure why we need one, like I say, but I suppose it is a chance to bring awareness both to Filipinos of second, third generations of what their culture was like or where they come from. But I guess more importantly, maybe it shares with other people in the United States this cultural group there and their presence and what they have contributed to making America what it is, especially in places like Hawaii and California, where there are very large immigrant populations and had come there very, very, very early.
Not what I wanted, 'cause I just wanted you. And if I could, I'd leave the city too. I don't blame you, and I should go.
Now, one thing I have experienced living in the United States is that every year in the town that I lived near, they would have an Asian American celebration. And it wasn't just Filipinos, it was Filipinos and Chinese and Koreans and all sorts of different people who ethnically came from Asia. And they would have a festival. And at that festival, they would sell, trinkets and cloths, but they would have food and they would have dances and stuff that would show off what the culture was, and also allow people to try the cuisine so they could experience what that culture was. It was a celebration for themselves, but they certainly were very inviting of having other people and very welcoming of having other Americans come in to see what their culture was like, the culture that they had left at home. And I found that that was very, very valuable. I don't know that there's going to be celebrations for this one specific holiday or month-long holiday. But again, the one thing I keep coming back to is how many groups do we need to have an entire month celebration, if any? Why not just a day rather than an entire month of festivities? Oh well, that's just my thoughts. It was something that I saw and kind of baffled me, and I thought I would share it here. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Make sure if you find this valuable that you subscribe and hit the like button so that other people can find this content.